Hi friends. So from tomorrow there have been some restrictions have been removed in certain parts of India depending upon the zone in which the districts have been classified. But lot of still many activities are banned in all the zones, even in green zones where there is no new case has been found in the last 21 days or so, including large gatherings like malls, multiplexes, cinema halls, etc. It's like something like a caught between devil and deep sea. It's not only the case in India; it's the case in everywhere in the world. Even in US, some states have started some operations because the continuing economic hardship hits the poorest of the poor more, and therefore some kind of reopening of the economy has to be done. But that increases the chances of more infections. India last 2 days has been there has been a steady increase if you see the statistics, more than 2000 cases in the last 2 days. In India, the rate of increase has been relatively low. The major reason, in my opinion, has been India is not part of the global supply chain network. The countries which are part of that are more closely, it is easily spreads from one country to another country. But no country is free from this global. So now we are living in a global village. So naturally, that's why every country has got some cases. But some of the real success stories are countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. More than Cambodia and Laos, which are smaller economies, Vietnam has been part of the Chinese-led supply chain network, and many of the low-end factories have been from China have been shifted to Vietnam in the last 5 years or so. That is why Vietnam has made giant strides in textiles. It has the world's it has captured more market than India. It has overtaken India in the export of textiles last year. So China has deliberately shifted many of the low-end labor-intensive technology to Vietnam. But in spite of that, Vietnam has hardly has 260 cases or so, with absolutely no deaths. The reason has been they have been very proactive during February when a lot of cases have been reported in Wuhan. They didn't close the border or they didn't stop the international flight because their economy depends upon export of textiles and tourists also. But they have been very severely quarantined. They have been screened, tested, and now they have manufactured so much of mask and gloves and all that. Now they are exporting it to European countries now, because as I said, they are very good in textiles. So they are converting the global problem into an opportunity. That's what intelligent people will do. They will convert the threats into an opportunity. Whereas India, unfortunately, we have not taken up the issue seriously in February. Till March 11th, the government was saying it is not a major issue, health issue at all in India. The same problem, US never bothered about it. Trump was talking about the little Chinese flu. Now 30,000 cases every year, and even death toll is 65,000 plus now. Same thing is happening in Brazil, which doesn't take it seriously. The Brazilian president called it as a little flu, and now daily 5,000, 6,000 cases are going on. So, unfortunately, for the carelessness of the governments, people, particularly the poor people, are now paying the price. Whatever it is, now most other countries European countries are also thinking of restarting the economy in a calibrated manner. So India is also doing it. But as I said, the issue of the world is going to see this virus for some time, and we are not going to get zero cases. The real worry is, for example, in the so-called green zones where most of the economic activities are going to restart, including flying of buses, cabs, and autos, and all those. Yeah, if suddenly the number of cases increase, are we going to announce lockdown in that also? Second and third lockdowns, if it happens, so will completely erode the credibility of the whole mechanism. That is a big danger right now what we are facing. But then what is the other alternative? Yes, the other alternative is to provide to the people, poor people of India. Mr. Raghuram Rajan 3 4 days back has said that it takes around 65,000 crore to help the poor people. I have not read the whole interview, so I am not in a position to comment on how he arrived at this figure of 65,000 crore. But whatever it takes, we have to help the poor people. The government is giving 500 rupees per month to women. Union government is providing that to women Jandan Yojana holders account. But 500 rupees is too small an amount, too little, too late. It is not enough, obviously. We need to provide it to the people. Poorer people who are, if they are exposed to the virus more, they are more vulnerable because they have low immunity. Many countries are doing it. So far, the package announced by the finance minister is around 1% of India's GDP, whereas few countries in Europe have even announced around 20% of the GDP, and most of them averages around 10% of GDP. So we need to spend more. Naturally, we should not bother too much about the fiscal deficit. This I have been saying it for many time. Yes, as many experts, economists have said, the increase in fiscal deficit could lead to India's rating being downgraded by the international rating agencies like Standard and Poor or Fitch, Moody's, etc. But that is a risk we have to take, because the downgrading given to a junk status is not going to make anything worse for India, because Indian government does not issue any GSECs outside India. So we issue it, but we allow FPIs to purchase to certain amounts, certain billions of dollars. So everything is issued only in India in rupee. So it's not going to make a much of a difference. Whereas some Indian companies do issue bonds outside ECB's external commercial borrowing, but it is not going to happen in the next 1 year or so because there is absolutely no demand right now in India. Even before coronavirus pandemic struck India, the economy was on a downward spiral, with the last 7 quarters seeing consecutive drop in the GDP. There is the problem in India has been lack of demand, and with now incomes affected, salaries not there, so it is almost impossible for anybody to think about any new investment, any new purchases. Everybody will try to postpone it. My TV has not been functioning properly, the plasma one. So my even if the Delhi of course is in red zone, so I cannot order or get anything. And even if I am not going to buy, I am going to use the older TV, which has been used 3 4 years back, is still with me. So I'll rather use it for more time. It's the same story everywhere in every Indian middle class household. There's, I don't think any problem is there about in ECB also. Yes, there could be some reduction in FDI and FPI, etc. But that is, as you said, as you know, there is a flip side to everything there. We have to take a calculated risk and do that. Right now, there's an imperative to support the poor people who are left without an income. Uh, And there's a lot of controversy also going on. In fact, many migrant laborers have been struck in different parts of India, from southern and western parts. So now they are trains are being run, special trains by railways, to go back to their home states. So a lot of trains have already gone, and more are going to happen in the coming days. There are unfortunately, the poor people who are stranded are being charged tickets they have to buy, and they have to pay also for the food and water which is being provided by the railways, because the trains won't stop anywhere in between. In some station in between they'll stop, and railway staff themselves will provide them food and water. For that also they are being charged. So it is the most shameful and disgraceful act ever happened in independent India. During British time, a lot of people died. Millions of people have died due to famines and all that. They never bothered about it. The same thing is happening right now. The government seems not to bother about the plight of, you cannot make money out of the misfortune of the poor people. Of course, when you look at the other side, when international flights have been stopped sometime in the middle of March, a lot of Indians were stranded outside. Then government offered special flights for them to come back. They were not charged at all. So people who can afford to pay were not charged, but whereas poor people who were not getting anything at all for the last 1.5 months have been suffering under lockdown, to go back to their hometown to meet their loved ones. Everybody has a family and everybody has a loved ones. So now the government charges. What happens to the money in PM CARES fund? I don't know, because there's been no less transparency in the operation of this kind of funds. So the first week itself, they said 6,500 crore has been collected. Now it is more than a month since this fund has been announced, and we don't know. Just extrapolating it, I think there should be around 30,000 crores, and this fund can now also get money from abroad. They've been exempted from FCRA Act also, apart from income tax exemptions. Why not money from this can be spent? Why we are keeping this money? This is the amount of money we are keeping it in reserve for taking care of any emergencies, and the plight of the poor people. If it is not an emergency, what is an emergency? It is very, as I said, very, very shameful, really hurting. It is an insult, it's an affront to the poor people of India. um, they have already undergone a lot of misfortune, and the government is piling it upon them, kind of last nail in the coffin. Another problem is, I don't know how far. Yesterday, a couple of days back, the Bihar CM, to which a lot of people will be going back now, conducted a marathon 6-hour meeting, video conferencing with the district collectors and other officials, because the problem is now they'll go back to their hometowns, home villages. Bihar has hardly only 6 testing facilities so far, 4 of them in Patna, only 2 outside, one in Bhagalpur and the other one Muzaffarpur, I think so, I'm not sure. Hardly any testing center in the whole of Kosi belt. I don't know. Screening is not enough. We have to test people, not merely screening them. But what are the facilities where they'll be staying? Lakhs of people will be coming, where they'll be staying. Logistics for that. Some people, obviously, if you put them in their district, they will say that, oh, I've traveled thousands of kilometers. Why they are putting me in a camp where there are no facilities? I'll rather run away from that camp in the middle of the night and go to my village to meet my family people. A lot of logistical issues are right now there. I think if we are going to reopen the economy in a calibrated manner, we need these workers. Why these workers are now? This should have been done before the lockdown. Lockdown should have been done with preparation. Unfortunately, it was not done. And even after announcing lockdown, they should have run these special trains. Now, with the lockdown going to end in a calibrated manner, why the people are going back? Because the factories need the laborers. That's the purpose they have come for, from all the thousands of kilometers they have traveled to work. Now when you say that I am going to restart the work and you are sending them back, it does not seem to, there seem to be no logic at all in this argument. Of course, you don't expect logic at all. Anyway, there are a lot of controversy over PM CARES fund and otherwise also. There's absolutely lack of transparency there. They said it is going to be, audited only by independent auditors, within quote independent. Who are the independent auditors? Will be appointed by the trustees. Who are the trustees? The government only. The prime minister, the finance minister, the defense minister, and the home minister. Four people. So it is essentially, this doesn't work. Even though it is registered as a trust, it has to be audited by CAG, which is a government agency. In addition to that, you can appoint any independent, so-called independent. There's no independent at all there here, because it is appointed by the trustees. Obviously, people who will be auditing in such a manner in which they'll be told to do so will be appointed. CAG is a constitutional authority. The idea that it is a private fund and it's not supported by budget doesn't have any at all, because prime minister and the three other senior ministers ex officio capacity, they are the trustees. That means there's automatically a public character into it. And there has to be transparency, who has given what amount and to what it has been spent. Many chief ministers fund is also similarly lack of transparency is there, but there are few states like Maharashtra, Bihar, Karnataka, Kerala are more transparent. In fact, Maharashtra, you can even file RTI queries also to get that information there. I think the transparency is very, very important there. Just because you have the support of media and social media, you cannot do anything whatever you want. People who have been donating it to it. There have been also reports that people have been pressurized, particularly government servants, to donate to this fund. Initially, the government said that 1 day salary for every month till the March 2021 should be donated. Later, due to opposition by the government workers, they modified it. They said people who want to give can write and can donate and this thing. But what I'm been inquiring, there been a lot of pressure, indirect pressure by the department heads on all the staff that everybody should donate. When in such a case, when people are whether voluntarily or in a way a bit forced to donate or forced to donate it to this fund, the government has to be transparent. It should audit it, and it should publish the list of even corporate FCRA, as I said, even foreign account is coming, money is coming. So there should be a proper audit on all the people who have given the donations and on how much of money is spent on what. That is quite natural. I think we have we but as I said, they won't listen to any of this thing. As I said previously in some other video, there is we don't I don't see any other reason why this fund has been started when there is already similar fund. PMNRF is there. So whatever it is, the controversy seems to be the middle name of whatever they do. But as I said, we need to restart the economy, as if at least to help the poor people. But enough care has to be taken when buses are plying and all those things, etc. Government said it should be plied only with 50% of the people. But but one thing again beggars my my knowledge. Why liquor shops? The government said that in all the zones, including red zones, also liquor shops can be started. Of course, many state governments have wanted this because it's an important source of income for them. But again, it's not a time to think about the income. They said 6 feet distance has to be maintained in the liquor shops. Do you expect drunkards to follow any social distancing there? Whatever little money they have right now after 1.5 months of lockdown, people will waste in boozing, and this is not the way the government should collect money. This is very really shocking piece of news. Anyway, whatever it is, it's already a done case. The way the way we handle the migrant laborers is really bad. And as you have seen it, a lot of pilgrims who have gone for a pilgrimage to Maharashtra, Nanded, Gurudwara, when they return back to Punjab, Haryana and Chandigarh, many of them are testing positive. I don't know what is going to happen with now lakhs of migrants being going back to their villages and all that. We can just hope only that we can do, because the government does not seem to get its priorities right and does not seem to know what it is doing. All is a kind of a knee jerk reaction, because the migrant workers are getting restless, and therefore you have to send them back and all that. It's all misplaced priorities. That's a problem right now, because as I said, there's no quality in governance. This thing, that's how we are stuck up with. Okay, let's see.